But I do remember heading back from Namibia, and I again achieved my at that point bucket list, and I'm thinking like, all right, I got to do a buffalo hunt. How am I going to do this? I'm going to go sell plasma. I'm going to do whatever I got to do, but one way or the other, I'm going to get over there. And fortunately, the industry was good to me, and I was able to go the following year, which was incredible.
And one thing to understand, even though we're going to be talking Africa today and safari, Neil Davies has made boot tracks over a lot of the game fields in the world. I know he's hunted several continents for all different kind of games. So it's not just, although we're talking safari, you're talking with a guy that's been there and done that. And since safari is going to be our discussion, and specifically dangerous game that you've hunted, we're going to bring Neil Davies on right now, and we're going to be able to pick his brain on dangerous game, his experiences, as well as his suggestions for cartridges and bullet selection for different dangerous game. There you are, Neil Davies. How are you, brother?
Good, Dave. Great to see you, buddy.
Well, you're coming to us from the Hornady plant in Grand Island, Nebraska. And, it finally feels like fall down here in Texas. What's it feeling like that up there?
It's fall now, for sure. I think we might have even frozen the other night, so that was nice. And the leaves are all changing colors, so we're definitely into fall.
Well, speaking of fall, that means hunting season. What do you got planned? This fall?
A big exotic whitetail hunt in Kansas.
Okay.
Not with Hornady products, actually with a bow. But before that, I got to go to, after that, I think I'm going to Germany for a press event over there. We're doing a driven hunt with a bunch of European riders, and we're taking one American rider with us as well.
Are you coming to Texas for whitetail again this year?
I will, but I think I'm going to just kind of host and maybe spread the love and have somebody else be the person that actually does the hunting, which is also very rewarding. It's fun to be able to provide those opportunities to other people here at the factory.
Well, a couple of years ago, Neil was down here whitetail hunting in an area that I know really well, and he said, "I shot a buck yesterday. I'm going to send you a picture." And I said, "Oh, wonderful." And I didn't know it was going to be that buck was 170 something and change, So I said, "Well, good for you, brother." Well, since you're at Hornady, let's talk about. Tim and I were trying to talk. How long have you been at Hornady, Neil?
21 years now, since
21
2004.
years. And in your official title, Director of Marketing for Hornady, all Hornady companies. And it's not just, not just ammunition.
I don't let that title fool you, though. I mean, I take out the trash sometimes. We do everything around here. It's not. Yeah, we're a big family company, and we have a great group of people that we get to work with. So we're very fortunate. We get to come to work with our friends pretty much every day.
Well, Joe Thielen, one of the Hornady guys, as we speak right now, is probably landing in Zimbabwe, getting ready to start a buffalo hunt with a couple of other industry guys, I believe. And we're filming.
Yeah, he's down there right now. He's with Tim Lesser from Leupold. He's with a representative from Ruger as well, and Jeff Johnston is the rider that's going along with them. So this will be Joe's first buffalo hunt, so it's pretty exciting. First big time, deep into Africa hunt. He's done some plains game in the past, but this will be a full-on safari. First time he's done that.
There's a lot of companies in our space, in the hunting and shooting space, that some of their people hunt. Some of them may hunt a lot. Some of the owners may. But Hornady, really across the board, I can think of a guy that I know there, and I know most of the team. You guys are really, every one of you is an avid shooter and hunter. And I think that's pretty unique, and I think that goes a long way towards building the products that you build. I mean, you're building them, and you're field testing them through experience in the world's game fields. And I think that's an important thing to notice.
Yeah, I mean, most of us do our own hunting first and foremost. So
sure.
We have a great collective group of people here that are just vested in the company, but are avid enthusiasts They were attracted to work at the company, myself included, just because of our passions and what we like to do, whether that's competitive shooting, hunting, plinking, whatever the case might be. But we have a great group of folks here that are just dyed-in-the-wool, shooting, hunting enthusiasts, and that shines through in the products that we make, because most of the products that have been really successful are products that up and down the hallway somebody wanted to have for their own hunting or match shooting endeavors. And we're also extremely fortunate to be able to do some of the trips that the company or the industry puts on. So in that regard, again, just extremely fortunate to be able to travel the world to test our products in all different situations with all different size game, depending on the applicability for each individual cartridge or bullet that we're testing. But yeah, it's just it's fun because we come into work, we like I said earlier, we get to work with a bunch of our friends, and there's hallway conversations about what would be nice to have that eventually turn into really good selling products that have kind of set the landscape for the industry, which is, it's rewarding for all of us to be involved in that, quite frankly. And I've said on some other podcasts in the past, I'm still 18-year-old me that looks in at the industry from the outside from time to time and is just shocked to be able to see some of the things that have manifested during my career, and to know the people that we get to meet and all these things, and go to the places that we've been able to go. And it's just it's thrilling. It's really, we're very fortunate. I just leave it at that. We're extremely fortunate, and we work for a great company, great family management, ownership group that trusts all of us to do the things that we do. So we're very fortunate.
Well, and we've always, when we talk about Hornady, sponsors and all, friends. I mean, we look at you guys like family and stuff, and our relationship goes well over 20 years, and I mean, we've hunted with just about everybody there.
Yeah.
And so let's go to Africa. Neil, do you remember the first year that you hunted Africa?
I was 35, and nothing had manifested for the company at that point. And I was going to just book my own trip, and then a trip just fell out of the sky. NRA Publications had a customer event that they were doing, and there was another company in the industry that wasn't able to go, so I got the nod, and I went to Namibia. And quite frankly, my bucket list was a southern greater kudu, a springbok, and I think a zebra at the time. And all three happened, and a couple more, and that was my bucket list at that point in time accomplished, and it was incredible.
Well, Namibia is a great place to get your feet wet in Africa, but how many times people ask me all the time, and I have no idea. Well, they say, how many times have you been to Africa? Do you give me it doesn't have to be exact, but a guesstimate how many times you've been over?
Probably 10, maybe 10,
that's
12.
Kind of what I was
necessarily
figuring.
Sure.
Well,
and it's just, when we do product introductions, it's a great place because it's in the off season for us. So you're typically over there during our summer when there's not much hunting to be done in North America. So going to the southern hemisphere is great.
Well, now I think my first African safari, it was a 72-day filming trip to Tanzania. And
wow.
But I can't tell you, but I was 30 or 31 before I got over there. Now, one day, a lady had a baby, and the doctor smacked him on the ass, and before he could start squalling, his first breath was African air. And that was you, because you were actually born in Africa.
Yeah, you can tell by my accent, right? Yeah.
Well,
my mom's American. My dad he passed away, but my dad's South African. So I was born in Cape Town and lived there till I was about just shy of my 12th birthday, and then we came back to the States permanently then.
Okay, say hello. You've got a ton of friends in South Africa, so tell them something in Afrikaans.
Well, it's morning, so goeiemôre meneer. So that's just good morning, sir, mister.
Well, that helps.
I can break back into the accent a little bit. Like if I'm over there, you start cracking into it a little bit. And like you can't go and order a Castle beer anyway. They don't understand what that means. So you got to say Castle. I'll take a Castle, please.
Well, so you came over when you were 12. I think it's important to note that you served our country in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and
I
that
will
was
say you learned
that was a great big chapter in my life, and I don't think I'd have this job at Hornady had I not done that, quite frankly. So,
well, obviously a salute for serving our country. Now, what we're really going to talk about today, Neil, whenever I've got an expert, I like to, drill down on, their thoughts. And, people ask us all the time, and I spend half my time, if I'm going over there, what bullets should I use? What caliber do you suggest for this and that? And before we're done today, I'm going to kind of pick your brain on the species that we're gonna move through. But, dangerous game is something, it's obviously a piece of Hornady's business. It's not as big as the whitetail, world or something, but I don't think anybody, well, I'm not gonna say I don't think, I'm absolutely certain that nobody has addressed the resurgence in safari hunting that we've enjoyed over the last 20 years, and especially those of us that are, dedicated so much of our time to hunting dangerous game. Nobody has addressed the needs of us like Hornady. You guys doubled down on the dangerous game market. So tell me your thoughts on that.
I mean, so Joyce Hornady founded the company back in 1949, and I don't recall the exact first time that he went over there. That was obviously well before my time, but he was a very passionate hunter, much like a lot of us that are working here now. He was an enthusiast that saw a need for making better products for himself, quite frankly, at the time. And so then, he had a great legacy hunting in Africa. And then fast forward to Steve Hornady. Once his father passed away, Steve was at the helm of the company and has been ever since. But Steve's a very passionate hunter himself, all over the globe. And most of the people that are watching this are probably familiar with Steve and what he does. But Africa's been near and dear to Steve's heart for years and years and years. And we're always trying to make products that are going to perform for not just us, but everybody else out there. And for dangerous game hunting, it's imperative that we have products that work exactly as advertised, because in some circumstances, there are human lives on the line, and they've got to work. So we test them in our laboratory settings, and then we take them out and use them in the field, and then oftentimes we'll come back from some of those experiences and we will make changes, which is evident in the Dangerous Game series of ammunition now with the DGX. So the big thing that changed for us was getting copper-clad steel jackets. We used to get that. We had a metal supplier, and then that dried up at one point in time, and then we were able to identify another supplier, I believe is the way the story goes. So using that copper-clad steel jacket, you get a very rugged, robust bullet. Plus they have high antimony steel, or high antimony lead, particularly in the DGS anyways. So having these products that are obviously rugged and robust is the starting point. But then there are little things you have to experience, like on hunting trips. And I'll be the first to tell you, so some of our 375 bullets early on, they didn't hold together that well. So we came back and we had a hunt, a couple of hunts anyway, and came back and revised the design and performance capabilities of that projectile after that. And then the consumers, they basically told us, look, we want something that retains even more weight. So fast forward to a few years ago, 5 years ago maybe, and we started the Dangerous Game, the DGX, Dangerous Game Expanding Bonded. So now you get high weight retention with those expanding bullets. The solid bullets have been a staple and have performed forever, quite frankly. Once we identify new technology, or we discover something, particularly now with our Doppler radar and all the testing we're able to do there, we will make improvements. And but I think getting out there and testing the bullets and having other people test bullets is always beneficial. And I put the DGX Bonded with. Look, it's a fantastic bullet. It's an amazing bullet.
It's a killer, and we've trusted it for years. Well, Neil, talk to me, because people always we get this week after week saying, I appreciate you guys talking about what calibers and bullets and gear that you're using. So let's what caliber were you shooting on that? What Hornady product and why?
Well, we had introduced the 375 Ruger prior to this, and we'd also introduced the 416 Ruger. I was going to get myself a rifle for this hunt, a personal rifle that I could take. So I went down to the lab, and I used a variety of the guns. My goal was to find the cartridge that I could actually train with. So I was trying to find something that had the most power possible, but also something that was comfortable enough to do a lot of training with. This was my first trip over there. Honestly, I mean, I'd watched all the Bonington on Buffalo videos and all this stuff, and so the 416 was comfortable to shoot off the bench. It was obviously plenty powerful as far as recoil goes, but it wasn't overwhelming. So I settled on the 416 because, basically you got a 400 grain bullet at 2,400 feet per second. That's plenty. I guess it's an academic fireside conversation. We can all talk about which is the best cartridge, and everybody has an opinion. Most of the time, people from here that go over there take a 375 just because it's a fantastic crossover cartridge. You can shoot plains game, you can shoot dangerous game with it.
Ready to roll?
But for this one, I took a 416 Ruger and pretty satisfied with that choice, quite frankly.
Well, what was your bullet choice?
At that point, it was a 400 grain DGX and the Dangerous Game Solid, the DGS.
Yeah, good pairing there.
Hi.
So Neil, you're starting your first day of buffalo hunting, and kind of walk me through that.
Well, I think that the first thing that pops into my mind was, you travel so long to get there, but it's still crazy to think that like within a couple of days you're in the middle of nowhere in Zimbabwe, and now you're hunting. It still blows me away. And it was the whole experience, taking the bush plane into the valley, seeing the camp, being off the grid, seeing the amazing setups that are accomplished in the middle of nowhere. There's 3, 4, 5-star accommodations that are just run with generators and manpower. It floored me, quite frankly. So it was an all-encompassing experience, not just the hunt itself, but just being there and hearing the sounds at night, hearing lions and hearing the strange sounds of birds and all the other little animals that are out there. It was really unique and fascinating. I remember like when we first arrived, Mark Villaro and I drove around a little bit, and we went and looked at a pool just to see what was around, and he said, don't get too close to that. Now, we were way away from the river, so I'm greenhorn. I had no idea. He's like, there's a slide over there. There's a crocodile in here. I'm like, what the heck? We're not in Grand Island, Nebraska anymore. That was the big one. And then we had an elephant, and I got out of the car and went to take some photos or videos of the thing, and I didn't even think about it, but it was probably about 3 seconds, 5 seconds of it, and it could have been on us. So yeah, it's a whole different experience, and it's enriching, quite honestly.
It is a life-changing experience, and that's when I tell people going over there for the first time, I say, you don't get so focused. That I call it the toilet paper roll. Don't be looking through something like this when you're looking at Africa, and the only thing you're envisioning is you're walking up and poking a dead buffalo in the eye with your barrel. Yeah. That's the very end of it. You are
100%.
You are poorer, and you're stealing from yourself if you don't take in those little minutes and appreciate, like you were just talking about so beautifully, appreciating just the small things.
And then you fast forward to the hunting experience itself. I mean, you're driving around quite a bit, and all the PHs are basically ecologists, if you will. I mean, they're botanists, they're biologists. They know the names of all the animals. They go, especially in Zimbabwe, they go through an extensive program where they do an apprenticeship, and then they have to pass a variety of tests. They got to know I believe they know the taxonomic names for all the animals, for all the trees, for everything in the area that you're in. The hunting is obviously what we're there for, but there's so much more that you're going to be immersed in, and you'd be remiss if you didn't try to take all that in.
This is the Mukanga River area. This is that big valley I was telling you where that herd of piggy herd normally hangs out. We just dropped into the river back there. The guys saw a whole bunch of dust rising up there, and they've seen some oxpeckers. Okay. We've then heard buffalo bellowing a bit further on. So we think it's just buffalo that probably heard the calves, seen the calf on cabins. So a lot of tree spook. The wind at the moment's great for us. So we're just gonna mosey up there slowly and see what we can see inside there. Sounds good? Good.
And again, Mark Bellaro, anybody that has watched Safari Classics productions over the years, tracks and Dark and Dangerous, they are more than familiar with Mark Bellaro, a top professional hunter over there. And
yeah, and he was great. Mark was fantastic, and yeah, like you said, true professional. And I think if things ever got hairy, I would pick Mark to be on my side every single time. And he was fantastic.
Actually going up and over the ridge. They tend to be feeding just down. Some have gone on top of the ridge, but most of them seem to be down on the bottom. There's a sort of gap just here up in the edge of this bush. I'll just sit there for a while and hopefully watch them feed past.
I think we'd seen a couple of them, but we just couldn't quite get into position. And then at some point, I remember we kind of got in the middle of this herd, and there was an opening. So I got up on the sticks, and I was looking at these buffalo come through a little opening. And we were surrounded by buffalo. We were in the middle of this herd, and to me, it was like being in the middle of the orc army. If you've ever seen Lord of the Rings, these creatures that are going through there making all this noise, and basically one buffalo would stop and look at us, and then another one would come in and look at us, and maybe it's because I was a greenhorn, probably still would do the same thing. I was like, okay, this is potentially an issue here. So if any of these things charge us, you're gonna have to shoot and kill one of these things so we got something to lay behind, Quigley Down Under style or something like that. Obviously that never happened, but all these things are going through your mind because you've read all the stories, and this is Black Death you're up against. And so yeah, there's a lot of emotion happening out there, and but all just incredible, and we live to tell the story, obviously. But it was cool to be in the middle of that herd. Was something I never thought was going to happen in my life. So to be there was incredible.
Well, I remember you didn't get your buffalo right there, but just, it may have probably been a little bit later that y'all got maybe on the same herd before you found the bull that
yeah.
we're about to
it was
see.
the same herd.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we found him again, got on him. The wind was right. And then we found, in fact, so Mark was looking at these buffalo, and he's like, well, this one, that one. I said, well, what about that one? He's like, okay, y'all, that's good.
Maybe really that he's quartering away slightly, so you're going to put him a bit back. Ready?
Walk me through this.
Yeah, and this is, your heart starts beating. Boy, I had no gray hair. That was fun. Your heart is beating big time. You're nervous. You don't want to cock the shot up because, man, you've got a tracker. You've got obviously the PH yourself, and you want to make a lethal shot. So there's the first shot with that 416. That buffalo took it, obviously. He made it over that hill. He loaded back up. Yeah, and it took him. Yeah, it was cool. It took him right off his foot. I think the shot was maybe a little further forward than it should have been, so it punched through his front leg for sure. But I was trying to fish it back through there to try to split that air gap between his two front legs. So.
But, that first shot, I want to say something. I tell people all the time, do not expect your buffalo. There's two things that are going to bring him down: a brain shot or a spinal shot. That's the only thing. Buffalo, you can put one right through both shoulders, and he's going to take off in the direction his nose is pointed. It is a rarity to see a buffalo just wallop to a degree that you take him off your feet, and that's the best example. And we have filmed, I don't know, it's hundreds of buffaloes being killed over the years, and I can't think but 2 or 3 of them that the initial shot, not touching the spine or brain, just brought him to the ground, and yours did, but you saw he bounced up like a rubber ball. Yeah. And what you may not see in there, and we'll turn the sound up on it, but you are tapping that thing as he's going over that little rise. You reloaded instantly, and you put 2 more really good shots into that buffalo and brought him down right on top of that little rise. And, you're reloading, and, of course, that's – that is really job one. We preach that all the time. Don't admire your shot. Don't try to catch your damn brass or look for it in the grass. You've got work in front of you, and that is to get that thing from wounded to dead as efficiently and as fast as you can. So, you did a great job. I mean, if anybody wants to know what they should do after their first shot, they should watch this video right here, because that is just an exceptional buffalo. I mean, that I can't believe you killed that for your first buffalo. You're a good guy, but you don't deserve that kind of luck, I can promise.
Well, hey, I mean, all credit goes to the PH and to the trackers and everybody else involved. We're kind of along for the ride. Our job is to make those shots count. So everybody should train, should practice, make sure that their system works extremely well. I mean, I went so far as to just chamber check every cartridge to make sure that everything was going to feed and function correctly. The potential is there that it's a dangerous game for a reason. And I want to make sure that, we executed perfectly, and that it all ended up with us smiling and a dead buffalo at the end of that thing. So, you owe it to the buffalo, you owe it to everybody else that you're hunting with to make sure that your gear is set up correctly and shooting accurately, and that you are ready to perform in that moment. And it's stressful. I mean, it's tough to try to replicate that kind of stress, especially for somebody who's never been in it, like I hadn't been at that time. And it's overwhelming, quite frankly. And you got to try to control your nerves and make a good shot off of sticks. And there's a lot going on. You got to be able to do it quickly.
Well, again, we've had people in it, and it just really makes you feel good to hear when somebody comes and talks about exactly what you're talking about now. Said, I've watched y'all for years, and you stress it, and I was already mentally lining up my second shot before I took that first one on my elephant or whatever. I was prepared. It was in my mind that I'm going to make an initial shot, and no matter what happens, I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to have another one up the spout or go to my second trigger if I'm, shooting a double rifle. I'm going to be prepared to follow my shots up. And that the example that you just gave there, especially on your first buffalo, hey, brother, that was beautifully done.
Well, we've been down in this river a few times trying to find. There's been a couple impala coming across here, and Mark the PH has been keeping us back. There's been one that was a pretty good one.
Yeah, that Impala ram was just a fantastic test for the 6.5 pre-mortar and the 120 grain GMX bullet. Perfectly at home here in Africa for any of the plains game species. Obviously did a great job on several while I was here. Very, very satisfied.
Well, that's going to be the end of this episode. It's not going to be the end of our discussion with Neil. In fact, we just had too much dangerous game action to get to in one episode. So Neil will be joining us again next week. We're going to start right where we're wrapping up today. We're going to talk Africa, dangerous game, and bullets with Neil Davies. So please, if you enjoy this kind of action, and I'm sure you do, hit like and subscribe. And until then, we'll see you next week right here on Safari Classics TV.